future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Good morning, hello, or good afternoon. Welcome to Live, Love, Thrive, Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you by 360karma.com. As you know, every week we have amazing women on. In fact, next week we're going to have Kimberly Moore. She has a foundation that we're going to be talking about. She's also one of the founders of the exclusive Echelon Club. So we'll look forward to that, as well as an accomplished performance coach, Susan Rose. So if you don't want to miss any episodes, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or download us on your podcast, iTunes, iHeart, or other avenues that you enjoy your podcast on. So today we have an incredible guest. She's 96 years old. She's had an incredible life she's going to share with us. Her family was the founders of Baskin-Robbins, and she is an acclaimed artist, Miss Shirley Baskin. Miss Shirley Baskin, Familian. And later in the show, we are going to talk with web guru Yume Herod. And Yume is going to share with us her very interesting story being born in Vietnam and her journey here to the United States. So stay tuned for that. First up, please welcome Shirley Baskin, Familian. Hi, Shirley. How are you?
I'm good today. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I have to say I was amazed when I visited you about a month or so ago, and you said, "Oh, I just got up from the gym," and I was like, "From the gym? Oh my gosh! No wonder you're still rocking and rolling at 96. Good for you."
Well, 3 days a week.
3 days a week. Good for you.
3 days a week.
Wow.
1 hour.
Yeah, and you've been doing that for how long?
Since I was
95 years? Just about, right?
Not quite. No, I started when I was about 40.
Oh, when you were 40. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's never too
So
late to
I've
start.
been doing it
Yeah.
continually.
Do you still like it?
I love it.
You love it. I guess
I
that's
love it.
you'd have to love it to keep doing it for 50 years. Yeah.
No, man, I feel good. You
Yeah.
know, makes me kind of
Yeah, limber
get
and
ready to go.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
Well,
right.
you inspire me. I know that you also are an acclaimed artist. You have shows at various places we're going to talk about, and you have a very interesting niche of art, which I can't wait to share with everybody.
Oh, dear.
But first of all, want to just talk a little bit about your background, because I like people to get to know my guest and what their
Okay.
background is. I understand you were born in Canada.
I was.
Yeah, I love Canada. Do you like Canada?
Well, I don't really know very much about Canada because I left when I was 3 years old.
3. I guess in 93 years it's changed a little bit.
Yes, I imagine so.
I imagine so. But that was Winnipeg, yes?
Winnipeg.
Yeah. And then you ended up in the Washington area, right?
Yes.
Yes.
My parents came to the United States when I was 3, and we settled in Seattle.
Oh, nice. That's beautiful
Yes,
there. Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And so I know you were sharing with me that you went to college, you were president in Seattle, president of the Girls Association there, the Women's Association,
Yes.
and college was an exciting time for you.
It was indeed.
Yeah.
It was.
As for most of us. I loved college. It was a
Well,
lot of fun.
when I started school, I decided I was going to be active. I wasn't just going to study. I was going to be part of the university scene,
Right.
and that's what happened.
So
I
you,
did.
obviously, you mentioned that you were part of a sorority.
Yes, I joined a sorority because I had to have a place to live. And I did a little bit of that too, but I really concentrated
A little bit of
on
living,
the,
or
on the on the university and having a good time.
I bet. I
Yeah,
bet.
being away from home, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah, we all
very-
remember that. We
it
all
was
remember that. It was a good
very
time.
exciting.
We
It
won't tell everything.
No, I won't. You can be sure I won't.
But let's just say it was a good time.
Yeah.
But so I understand then you were invited to Chicago, where you end up meeting a young fella during the time of the World War II, and
It was before the war.
before the war.
It was
Okay.
before the war.
And that's
But
when you
then-
met Butch.
That's when I met my husband, and we fell in love. And
Husband.
yeah,
But he was called off to enlist in the war,
he
right?
went into joined the Navy and went overseas immediately. No training
Wow.
because they were desperate for men, and
Yeah.
he went over as a young ensign. He looked very handsome in
I
his Navy garb, and he was gone for a year and a half. And when he came back, then we got married.
And you had finished
I
college by
had
then?
finished school by
Yeah.
then.
Good. I know your dad.
I
I know your
had
dad said you had to
graduated.
graduate college, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
he wanted to get married before we left, but my father said no.
Yeah.
And in those days,
Yeah.
you did
What
what
they
your
said
father
went.
said.
Right. Right.
And so we waited, and
That was a long wait, wasn't it?
yes, it was.
Yes. Yes.
But it gave me an opportunity to finish school and to get a job and go to work.
Right. Right.
Yes.
And you worked for, you said, the government, the housing authority?
Yes, I worked for the Federal Housing Authority, and we helped young Army, they were primarily Army people, find housing.
Wow. And you told me that was the only job you've had.
That was my only job.
Right. But you then went on to do amazing work with nonprofit world and also this amazing artist career. Now, you were an art major in college, right?
I was an art major. I started with formal training when I was in high school. And then I went on to college and became an art major and had 4 years of artwork at the university. And then I just always continued. I have done so many different mediums.
Right. You
But,
draw, you paint, and then you do this
I did.
unique stamp collages that we're
yes.
going to talk about.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I worked with tiles and did mosaics.
Oh, wow.
I did watercolors, oil paints, charcoal drawing. I did the whole gamut.
This just brings you a lot of
And-
joy, obviously.
It does.
Yeah.
And I must say that in the last 25 years, where I have been forced to slow down,
Yeah.
it's been a godsend.
Yeah. I do think that's what
really
keeps you young.
has, because I'm never bored. I always have something to do. And I guess the creative spirit is still there.
I do think that's what keeps people living a long, healthy life is the physical workout that you do, and then doing something that feeds your soul, that you're passionate about, whatever that gift is that makes you happy. So you're lucky
Well,
that you've had that your entire
I
life.
call myself a constant doodler because I always have a pencil in my hand. I'm always drawing and moving about,
Yeah.
sketch. Not really sketching, but just
Yeah.
doing
Doodling.
doodling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
just
that's a
plain-
good art.
Plain old-fashioned doodling.
Well, before we talk about your collage art, I'm sure the audience would love to know about how your family started this iconic chain, Baskin-Robbins. You had
Yes.
explained to me that that you and your husband and also your brother, you all had the first franchises. You started it here in California, in Glendale and Pasadena. Those were the first two. And then your husband and your brother, Baskin and Robin, decided to franchise it. and it looks like you started it in 1946, right?
We opened our first store
Yeah.
after the boys, both my brother and husband, were home from the service.
And both of them landed here in Los Angeles.
Well, we had been, both of us had been stationed in California, and we fell in love with it. We said, this is where we want to stay.
Yeah.
He was from Chicago. I didn't want to go back up north, and I loved the sunshine and everything that California had to offer.
Sure, after rainy Seattle and cold Chicago, what could look better than California, right?
Yeah, and I didn't want to go to Chicago, that was for sure. So we stayed in California, and Los Angeles became our home.
Now, it's very interesting about why you got in the ice cream business. So a lot of people may not know that you grew up with your family owning a dairy farm, right?
No, we didn't have a farm.
Oh, not in a farm?
But my father had a dairy.
A dairy. Oh, gotcha.
He had a dairy, and he milk and cottage cheese and butter and buttermilk
and ice cream.
And ice cream.
Right.
And my brother was raised in the ice cream business and went to work when he was about 14. He worked at the factory, and my father started him in probably the lowest job that was available.
Yep, you got to work your way up.
And he learned the business. So when he got out of the service, he knew that he would continue in some phase of the ice cream business. And my husband had been in the clothing business in Chicago.
Oh.
But he had little education in ice cream during the service because he was in the ship service, and that involved some ice cream. So
I have a lot of experience in ice cream.
he was,
I love it.
so he decided that he was going to join the ice cream family, and the boys became partners and formed BaskinRobbins.
What a great story.
They took their two names, and that was it.
As I recall growing up, for most of us baby boomers, it was really the first ice cream chain that we grew up with.
Yes.
And I think the big thing I remember was the big deal about they had the 31 flavors, which I think ended up being a lot more, but that was kind of their pitch, right? So did they feel like that was what was going to set them apart, was having so many flavors?
Well, they decided to start with 31.
Yeah.
And of course, they had many, many more. There are a few standards that they have all the time.
I heard that most people like vanilla.
Every season, they would come up with some new flavors.
Right. Oh, so okay, they change it up. And
we all did the testing.
Oh, fun.
My husband used to bring home 4 cartons of ice cream, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I tasted them, and he wanted to know which one I thought was the best.
Oh,
they were all very similar.
Yeah.
One was a little sweeter than the other or had more candy in it, but basically they were very much the same. So that was my first job with him.
So that was your second job.
That was my second job, but my first job with him.
So what was your favorite flavor? Just curious.
Oh, well, of course it's Rocky Road.
I love Rocky Road.
Rocky Road.
Yep, I'm a big fan. And I used to always feel they had the best chocolate chip for sure.
Oh, everybody loves chocolate chip.
Yeah.
I like it too. I like chocolate mint. I can't go into all the flavors.
No. Well, yeah, come on, Shirley. Tell me all 31.
I've tasted them all.
Well, that sounds like a fun endeavor.
It was a wonderful business to be in. It was a happy business. Everybody enjoyed it, and we used to have a lot of fun with it.
Yes.
We had a freezer at home, and in those days that was quite unusual. And we had it filled with ice cream. So naturally, all the kids in the neighborhood would hang around.
Yeah.
So they could
Better than
have their
Planters
ice
peanuts,
cream.
huh?
And on Halloween, we didn't give candy. We gave ice cream.
Did you
cones.
really?
Yes.
I
Kids
take
thought-
it they ate it. They didn't bring it home, right?
No.
Yeah. Well, very fun. What a neat
Yeah, it was
business. And you're
good.
right. It's a business that makes people happy. Who isn't happy to eat an ice cream cone?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. A feel-good business. And you guys built that up over 20 years to be over 5,000 franchises around the world. Yeah.
Around the world.
Yeah.
We first started in California, gradually went to other states where we sold the idea. They followed the Baskin-Robbins plan. And it just grew like Topsy because everybody loved it. It was a superior quality.
Right.
And they loved the variety.
Absolutely. And so the unique part of the business you shared with me is that you all supplied the ice cream and the packaging to all the franchisees.
Well, when we went out of the state, there was, we allowed them to make the ice cream.
But they had your recipes.
They had they made them the same. We supplied some of the ingredients. Some were local and some we supplied. But they used the same packaging, and the stores had to all be similar so that no matter where you went, if you went to Baskin-Robbins, it would be familiar and you would know exactly what to expect.
Right. So in 1967, you sold that business, and
Yes.
unfortunately, that's when your first husband, Butch, passed away. That must have been so tough. I mean, you just sold it to Dunkin' Donuts, probably ready to celebrate.
We didn't sell it to Dunkin' Donuts owns it now.
Oh, owns it now. I see.
But we sold it to United Fruit.
Oh, who then sold it to Dunkin'?
No, it
sold a few
it went
times?
through a few hands.
Gotcha.
In the franchise business, that's very familiar. That
Yes.
they go to you buy and sell,
Right.
just like you buy the ice cream and sell it.
So as I was saying, so unfortunately, your husband that built this up over 20 years, as soon as you sold it, he unexpectedly passed away, which I know was tough. You had 2 teenage kids, and that wasn't easy. And then I know you ended up, going to Dallas, and then you ended up back in L.A. and fortunately met another incredible man who was your last husband, which was Isidore Familian, thus Shirley Familian. And he too was a real community leader, one of the founders of the American Jewish University, and just a real stellar leader in the community.
Yes.
So you had some amazing husbands.
I did indeed.
Yeah, lucky you and lucky
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
Lucky me.
yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And then you also became very involved. I know with KCET, which is what I always love when women are very accomplished and they have a successful surroundings. That it's so important, isn't it, to give back?
Well, my Butch was asked to be on the board, the original board of KCET.
And this was like 50 years ago, right?
It was more than
More
that.
than that, yeah.
More than that.
I think you were on. You were involved with them for 50 years, right? I mean, there was a
Yes.
50 years in there. Yeah.
I was a volunteer
Wow.
for 50 years. I never thought I'd last that long doing anything,
Right.
but it was very inspiring
Right,
and
rewarding.
very exciting. And I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah. I mean, so thanks to people like you, we have public television. I mean, it's getting harder and harder for us to keep that with what's going on in the world. So
Well.
let's hope that we always have public television. It's such an amazing
I hope
way to
so.
deliver unique programming that we otherwise wouldn't have. So I'm really glad that you did that for such a long time.
Well, you can understand why I stayed with it for so long, because
Yeah.
it was very exciting, and I made some wonderful friends, not only with the staff, but with the other volunteers.
So besides that give back work, I do feel like an artist is also giving of themselves to the world, bringing something beautiful as art. And you developed this really unique niche in art, this collage art using stamps. And I want to talk about how you got into that genre that is unique to you and maybe a few others, but it's I know it's not a common art. And you've done showings in various places, and you have one coming up, and we're going to talk about that. But also, I'm showing the viewers right now some of the items that you created, including the first one, which was a stool. So I wanted to talk about how you actually got into this. You were collecting stamps.
That is correct. I collected stamps not as a stamp collector.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have an album and put the stamps in and so
Right.
forth. But I just saved stamps.
You just had a love and
I
appreciation for them.
I just loved the design and the color, and you realize that every stamp is designed
Yes.
by an artist. And I don't know why I did it. I just did it.
Yeah.
And I had a box full of stamps, and I'd look at them once in a while and kept adding to it.
Yeah. Kept thinking maybe one day I'll use them in some capacity or
I really didn't know what I was going to do with it
yeah.
until my granddaughter was about 2 years old, and I told her mother, my daughter, I said, you have to get a stool for her so she can step up to the basin and wash her hands, brush her teeth. And she said, that's a good idea. I'll get one. I said, no, let me get it. So I went to the unfinished furniture store, and I bought this little stool, and I had planned to paint it because I'd never glued a stamp except on an envelope.
Right.
And I started fiddling around with my stamps, and I figured I could make designs out of this.
Wow. It's
And
amazing you had that epiphany.
That's how it started. And I made the little stool, and on the top of it I put a doll,
Mm-hmm.
and decorated the whole stool with stamps.
Yeah,
She
we have a
still
picture
has
of
it,
that.
by the way.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that is so
she
unique
still
that your
has the
mind
stamp.
that your mind worked that way. But you are an artist, so of course I could imagine that you just envisioned seeing this, and then since then. You have done the most amazing array of stamp collages on different items, circular ones, ones that look like a person, a mannequin, all different shapes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that is what is so extraordinary, and why different places like the Craft Museum here in Los Angeles have showcased your work, because it's so extraordinary and unique.
Well, it is different, and I never know what I'm going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And I stay awake nights thinking about it and planning it and how I'm going to do it and how big it should be and so forth. I have thousands and thousands of stamps now. I have large cartons full
Right.
of stamps. My friends collect, and strangers. After I had my show at the Craft Museum, which was very successful, strangers started sending me stamps.
I love that. Isn't that cool?
I
'Cause
love that too.
Yeah, they probably thought, why not let it be made into art? Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
And then I know you told me you do it a little differently, that there may be a couple people that do the stamp art collages, but no one does it the way that you do. You eliminate the white border and you put it into
Yes.
different designs and
It's labor intensive.
very.
First, I have to soak the stamp off the envelopes
Oh my gosh.
because most people that give me stamps just tear the stamp off the envelope.
Oh, I thought they were giving you like sheets of envelopes. They're actually on the envelope and you have to remove it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is a lot
That's
of work.
where the work starts. And then I have to soak the stamps off. Then they have to be pressed so they'll be flat.
And when
Get
you say
all-
pressed, is this like with an iron or? Oh, I mean, I don't know. Is it
I put them between two pieces of wax paper.
Oh, okay.
And put it in a book.
Okay.
Then
You're giving your secrets away.
I stack up the books, and that flattens the stamps. And I work in my kitchen.
And then one thing you were telling me was interesting is when you do these shows, art collections, they like you to have a name for the piece. And so because your son Richard is a musician, the two of you decided you'd start naming it after songs.
Right.
And so when you go to make a piece, you actually Google, because you are internet savvy. Of course you are. 96 years old, you're internet savvy. I love you. And you go online and you look for songs that have that word in it. For instance, you shared with me that you're doing a frying pan right now, or coming up, and that you Googled that word and came up with Someone's in the Kitchen with Dinah.
Yes.
Very clever.
Yes.
Very clever.
And if I use the U.S. flags, have tons of those. If I use them, I call it Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Cute.
Or Hail to the Red, White, and Blue. You know.
I love that. Very patriotic. And so because we're wrapping up, let's talk about what your next show is. It's going to be in New Mexico.
Yes.
Coming up here soon.
It's coming up in June. I'll be opening at the Mill Contemporary Gallery. And they've already picked up the stamps, the pieces. I sent about 30 pieces.
Oh my gosh, 30.
To the exhibition. Be up there for a month.
Oh, for a month. So if anybody
Yes.
is visiting New Mexico or has friends there, they could tell them about the
Absolutely.
Shirley Baskin Familian
The Mill Contemporary.
Mill Contemporary
And
art
it will
exhibit.
be there for the month of June.
Great. And they can also go to your website, shirleyfamilian.com, which is up on the screen,
Yes.
to see more of your work and how to reach you. Maybe they want to donate stamps or see your next exhibition.
I'd be
So-
very happy to have them.
Well, your work is extraordinary. Keep making beautiful art and just making a difference
hope
with
so.
that. And,
Well, you know, you have to be lucky in life. And I still do my work without glasses.
unbelievable.
Once in a while, I have to put the glasses on because when I come across a foreign stamp, I want to know where it's from.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I did one piece. It's a 30-inch diameter ball, so
oh, my
it's
gosh.
big.
How long did that take?
How long?
Yeah.
I worked on it about 6 months.
6 months. Wow. Day and
Because
night, probably.
first you have to soak the stamps and collect them and so forth. Then you have to design it, figure out how you're going to cover
Right.
the stamps. And on that particular piece, there are 164 different countries involved.
Wow.
As I did the work and glued the stamps, we kept track of the countries.
Wow.
We counted the stamps as I was working. We put the stamps in piles of 100. There are 3,000 stamps on it,
Oh my
the
gosh.
wall,
Wow.
and 164.
Wow.
I
That's
think it was
amazing.
164 or 84 stamps on it.
Well, I know there's talk of you being exhibited eventually in Washington, D.C. in the Museum of Women's Art. So I'm cheering you on that happens because your art is so unique, and I would love to see it there.
Well,
and we're going to have people visit your website and follow your journey, Shirley. That's going
Thank
to
you.
continue, I'm sure, for a long time. And
I hope so.
and thank you for being on the show. You're an amazing lady. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me
You're
on the
welcome.
show.
And we will be right back. You're going to meet Yume Herod, so stay tuned.
The Live, Love, Thrive radio show is produced by 360karma.com. Are you a 360 Karma woman? If so, spread the word. Be sure to follow us on social media at 360 Karma Women on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us and share us with family and friends. This is the year of the woman, and we are stronger together. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with Yume Herod. Hi, Yume.
Hi.
How are
Catherine,
you?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. You bet. Oh, my gosh. I want to talk about what an amazing web guru you are
Thank
and
you.
how you can help our viewers actually grow their business through web development, because I think it's something that's really invaluable information to our entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah.
But first, I want to talk about your journey here to the U.S. because it is quite a story.
It
In
is
fact,
quite a story.
Yeah, you're telling me they want to make a documentary about it.
Yes, it's worth the story of documentary to share with everybody. So I was born in Vietnam.
Yeah.
To a Vietnamese mother, and my father was black.
Yeah.
It was during the war, and towards the end of the war, so
The
that
Vietnam War.
Vietnam War,
Right.
yes. So that was the fall of Saigon was April 30th, 1975.
Wow.
So a couple weeks before that, my story was that my family background is Catholic, and there was a Holt adoption agency that was Catholic based there, and they went around to the villages and they said, if you have Amerasian children, if you have mixed children, the communists are coming and they're progressing into, and they're taking over. It was starting to, basically advance. And so they went around. They said, listen, if you give up your child that's mixed Asian, that's part American and mixed, and give them up for adoption, we will guarantee their safety. But you have to act very fast.
Oh my gosh, they didn't even have time to think, I'm
No.
sure.
So this was around.
Because it was dangerous
It was
for you to
very
stay
dangerous,
there.
yes.
Right. So if they didn't give you up for adoption, things were not.
I don't know what my life
Yeah.
would have been. Yes. So
Yeah.
my family, my aunt tells me, my aunt Yin, she told me that they had a family council, and they decided, it was an uncle of mine named Hai and myself. We were both mixed in the family, and they decided to go ahead and put us up for adoption at the Holt agency. So
And just to stop for a second and think what love there had to have been to decide to let you go to America for your own good
Yeah.
and
I mean, it was
safety.
definitely-
because it had to have been so hard for them to make that decision. Obviously, they had the family council and.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very difficult decision that my
Sure.
mother had to also make too. Obviously, I was like 4.5, so
And your biological mom is still in your life today?
she is.
Oh,
Yeah, and
how
I can,
wonderful.
Yeah, and I can tell that story. That's an interesting part. But so they decided to do that. So that was April 12th. So I was there. I went to the orphanage. I was there for about a week, and then my mom and dad, now my adopted parents, they came around April 19th.
And you shared they were missionaries.
They were missionaries, and they were there. My mom was a nurse. My father was in the church. And they were conscientious objectors of the war, and they were there to help out. And they wanted to adopt a child, so they came to the orphanage, and they said, well, what child can we adopt? And the whole agency said, you know, this child here, let's get her back to America.
Wow.
So that was April 19th, and then
you had a little golden something over your head, right?
I have.
Because we've talked about this, all the lucky breaks in your life, and that was the first one.
It was amazing,
Yeah.
amazing lucky break, and the sun and the moon and the stars aligned. It was a really incredible story. And a week later, April 25th, there were 2 cargo planes full of children. It wasn't even like a passenger plane. They were like, hurry up and get out. You have to get out.
Oh my gosh.
So my parents got us in one cargo plane. And so it was, I don't know if people know historically, but it was called Operation Baby Lift.
Oh, wow.
So there were 2 planes that took off on April 25th. And the first plane of children actually got shot down.
Oh my gosh, I have chills.
Yeah. The second plane, my plane, landed.
Oh my gosh.
There's 33 children on that plane, and I was the one that landed. So there's always been...
your story makes me want to cry. It's so touching. It's, yeah, you must get emotional telling it.
Well, it's been one of those journeys that you don't even realize the journey that you have, right? How incredible it is until you get older and you realize, wow, it's been divine guidance. And, and being watched over and things like that.
Yes.
And my mother, my birth mother at the time, she went back to the whole agency to see if I was gone, and they never knew until years later that I was actually safe.
So they didn't know which plane you were on.
They didn't know.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
It's an incredible story.
I just have goosebumps all running up and down my neck.
Yeah,
it's
an incredible story.
I can't imagine being in her shoes.
No,
it's very much like that movie that came out this year.
Lion, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Lion! Did you see it?
I didn't see it, but there's similar parallels to it. Yeah, and so that actually was how I got to the United States.
So this wonderful couple, the missionaries that adopted you, were they on that plane with you?
Yeah, they were on the plane too. Yeah, so it was them and some kids and the Army soldiers. I was talking to my mom last night about being on your show, and she said that the U.S. soldiers were giving everybody hot dogs. She said nobody, as a child, I didn't know what a hot dog was.
Right,
and she said I had them stuffed everywhere in my pocket.
You were like, oh, right, these are awesome.
We didn't know what they were because, but it was hilarious, that
that's cute.
Yeah, so she's...
So they took you to, did you say Hawaii first?
Yes, so from Vietnam you go to Hawaii, obviously, and that's like the first stop from...
and you were 5?
I was almost 5, I was 4 and a half. I was close to 5. And I became a naturalized citizen there, and at 5 years old,
what impact did this have on you? Leaving your country, coming into it, were you just like totally freaked?
I think I was. I think you don't really know what's happening to you. But the fact that I was really taken care of by people who were kind and loving, like my parents, Bill and Peggy, and again watched over. It's an amazing journey, and I think I told you the other day, I was like, I didn't speak English.
Right.
I spoke Vietnamese and French fluently, so I had to learn a new language. I had to adapt. And
I mean, the good thing is at 5, isn't it a little bit easier than when an adult to learn English?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
that
was a plus.
You assimilate very fast,
Yeah.
But, that was when I got naturalized, so...
Do you still speak Vietnamese and French?
I don't speak as much. I don't speak Vietnamese. I took French back again, like for 5.5 years. But it's one of those languages you have to use it. So I know I can hear it. I can understand it. But the fluency of it, it's not there.
Yeah. So you had good adoptive parents. They were
did.
kind to you, and so how wonderful. What
Yes,
a blessing.
and that was a blessing too, because it could have. My story could have gone either way. It's always like a point in time where everything was always either way.
Yeah,
right?
because you do hear adoptive stories that are not pretty. So,
No, they're not.
You're so lucky. Yeah. How in the world did you reconnect with your mom?
Oh, that's another part of the interesting story. So, it was actually last year.
Just last year?
Yes, last year. So it was 40 years later. Last year, I had, so 2 years, about 2 or 3 years ago, I can't even remember. I don't know you heard of Ancestry DNA.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I took
I've been meaning to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I knew my mother's side because it's Vietnamese. I didn't know what my father's side completely was. So there was like some $99 promo on Ancestry DNA that I was like, I think I should just kind of learn a little bit more about what my makeup is. So I found out my family came from part of Central Asia to Southeast Asia on my mom's side, and my dad's side was Ghana and American. And there's a little Asian Pacific Islander in there, but not much. And so I took the DNA test. It was sitting there for a couple years, and once you learn about your DNA, you kind of don't really look at it again.
And did you think I will never reconnect with my mom? Did you?
I did.
Yeah.
But the irony is my dad, Bill, he emails me one day and he goes, "Didn't you take a DNA test?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." So I log back. He goes, "Can you send it to me?" So I log back into Ancestry DNA just like years later. I mean, I took the test a couple of years before. Go in and I see a message. And the message...
That's your story. Oh, my God. I have goosebumps again.
I know. The message says you
God.
have a very close ancestor, like a sibling, almost like could be a half-brother or a cousin. So I happen to have a message from my brother, my half-brother, Michael. And at the time, I didn't know he was my half-brother.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're conversing back and forth. And
Now, were you all brought over here on that same plane?
Well, he's a few years younger than me.
Oh,
so
okay.
he came later after
Okay.
I was adopted off, and my mom remarried somebody else. But for some strange reason, my brother decided to take a DNA test. I don't know why, but it matched us. And in the course of us communicating, he says, "Well, what part of Vietnam were you in?" I said, "Bien Hoa." He said, "My mother was in Bien Hoa." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, whatever. This is very nice." And and then he says, "Well, what's her name?" And I said, "Nia." And he says, "My mother's name is Nia."
Oh, my gosh.
And it just escalated into this whole thing that unfolded that he contacted my aunt in Toronto, Canada, and said, "Do you know about this person?" And she sent him pictures of me as a child. She said, "Yes, that's your half sister."
Oh, my gosh. Now, does your mother still live in Vietnam, or she moved here?
She's here. She was here. She's here.
Oh,
yeah.
she moved here.
Yeah, and
Is that how he ended up here? Or?
well, he's not in California. I think he's in the East Coast.
Oh.
And I have a half sister who is in California.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so it's
Now, you don't know what happened to your biological dad.
yeah. My mom gave me his name and said he was probably in the Air Force.
Wouldn't it be weird if like we're on air and somebody hears this story and he's like, "Oh my God, that's me"?
I'm not.
Hey, you never know.
I wouldn't be surprised with the things that happen.
You
to
might
me.
still find him one day.
Yeah. Well, I found a lot of people lately in the past 2 years of my life. So I feel like there's a lot of digesting that process and everything.
Right.
Learning about my new family. It's really been the past year and a half has been very transformational for me.
Yeah.
So I would say that I think I can pause for a second about finding family.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Digest what you already know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process.
Now, the movie Lion explained that this boy wanted to meet his biological, not meet her, be reunited with his biological mom, who thought that she didn't even know he was alive. And so I can imagine that similar scenario with your mom. She must have been obviously so thrilled to find out that
She did.
you were okay, and then icing on the cake that you guys get to reconnect. How has that affected? Because everybody that has challenges in their life, and we all do, everybody does, is just pick one. It's like everybody's got something. How has that impacted how you handle your life, or how do you think it's positively impacted the way that you run your life? Like, you're a very successful entrepreneur, and do you think and somehow that's lent itself to your achievements?
Yeah. Well, definitely just a deep, deep level of empathy. You just learn to be really observant, watch people, hearing stories and of human triumph, and even with your show, Live, Love, Thrive, it's a wonderful show about people overcoming adversities and things like that. So you kind of get more plugged into that and really connected to that more.
And isn't it interesting just in life at large, like in a community, let's say LA, and we have a group of friends, most people don't know people's backstory.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I love about the show is that people will open up and tell their backstory, and people are always like, oh, I didn't know that about them. And it makes us feel more connected.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, and more empathy for one another, because everybody's had hard things they've been through. And so it's a wonderful way. Storytelling and sharing our stories, which is why I created this platform, is such a great way for us to come together.
Absolutely.
And have to be inspired to help each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful platform. And I think that's what it, you know, I tend to be a private person, so.
And most people are.
Yeah. And so this story that's unfolded in my life, it's something that it's really hard not to share, right?
Right.
And it is inspirational.
And also, I always think, you know, who's out there listening that has your story?
Yeah.
And maybe you've inspired them like, oh, well, maybe I should go on Ancestry.com or whatever, you know, like, hey, it worked for her, you know. Yeah.
Who knew, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it is an empathy, and you want to be in a position to help other people. That's really becomes the I think the motivator is okay, how do you take this story and turn it into something where you can actually be helpful and be of service. And I come from my family, you know, Bill and Peggy, they are a very service-oriented family. So it's, I mean, I met youth through volunteering too. So it's like, how can we be of service? And so that's really, that has impacted my life. I don't think it would have been the same. So
now, what about being a very independent entrepreneur? Do you think that somehow your background lent itself to making you a very independent woman? I know you said it made you a resilient woman.
Yes, definitely independent, resilient. I think it helped me take risks that other people might not have normally would take, you know?
And it does involve taking risks to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, yes, yes. I think if I knew all the things that I know now and I had time to really think about it, I probably would have played it on the safe side, but I didn't.
Right.
You know? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, so one of the things was that in your background, right out of college, you were fortunate. Here's your luck. It comes. You're a lucky girl.
Yeah.
You got this job with this digital online company that was kind of one of the first in the foray of online video, and it happened to get after you were one of the first 20 employees there, so you got stock options.
I did.
Ended up selling and becoming public, which was really quite a coup.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. So I had graduated from college, and you know, a few years after that, I had my quote unquote real job, and it was this with the startup company. And I had made my way to Atlanta to go. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design from DC, and I ended up with this startup company, a very small startup. It was like probably like 25 people, and I was like employee number 20.
Wow.
And they were like, do you know how to do Flash? And do you know? And I said, yes. And so they hired me that day. And eventually I grew with the company, and I became head of the department and watched the company grow from serving just local clients to national clients and then international clients. And it was again, a tremendous experience. It did go public. It sold to Limelight and networks, and it sold for cash for and stock options between the two of them for like a total of 110 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so it was to learn about how to grow a company, to get that kind of opportunity. It's what people are doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was back in 2010.
Yeah. Yume, your story is so fascinating, and we're getting ready to wrap up, and I don't want to miss anything. So the long and the short of it, you went and worked for another digital agency and ended up getting laid off with a severance package
Yeah.
that allowed you to then start your business, which was, I think we talked about, a blessing in disguise
It
again.
was.
And so many people get pushed out to where they have to go do something they otherwise might not have done. And so in your case, that ended up being a great thing. And I know you said 6 months into it, you were like, oh my God, is this going to work out? And right then you landed your 6-figure client and off you went.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was a cool story.
Yeah. So it was a point when you're like, okay, I have stock options from that sale from the company before, and your savings and stuff is just kind of, you're watching it kind of, go spend very quickly.
Yeah.
And you invest the money to make it work.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who I'd worked with at the other company, and I'd sent out some emails to people. I said, listen, I started my own company, and I need some help. If anybody knows anybody that's looking for work for web development and things like that. And so I got a call, and I landed that
Was
job.
it a farm? Did you come with pharma?
It was pharmaceutical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they have deep pockets.
They have
so. Yeah.
Again, sun, moon, stars aligning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everything you deserve, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to see, do you have like one business tip for people that are starting their business as with regard to their web development or online marketing? Because I know that's your specialty.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I'd see so many people not have a strategy. And I think having a strategy is so important that
Right.
it's almost like you have to have it buttoned up. You have to understand
need
where
a
you're
business
going.
plan.
You need a roadmap. Even
roadmap.
if it's not something that you solidify and you can be open to changing it and being fluid. But so many people start without that direction, and I think that is a high risk that leads to a lot of failure.
So YumeConsults.com is where they can tap into your expertise to help build their own business and create a strategy.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is that I just love when successful women are giving back. That's who I try to have on the show. And you certainly fit into that perfectly because you are just starting your nonprofit called NoTrafficking.org, which is a really tough subject. But I'm so glad you're doing that. People can find it online. You're just building it out. And you're bringing people together to shed light on how they could get involved and how they could help, and maybe also how they can find other nonprofits that are in this genre of stopping trafficking of women and human beings.
Yes, it's actually no human trafficking, and it does. We're connectors.
Oh, that's the website.
Yeah,
NoHumanTrafficking.org.
Yeah,
Thank you for correcting.
And we're actually connectors. We see ourselves as connectors, and people want to get involved in the community, and they want to know what they can do. And it's such a deep, dark subject, but something that is warranted for the community to be involved in.
I think people do want to know how to get involved in that. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping women and other people build their businesses through web development and online marketing. And just thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah,
it was
thank you
really
for having me.
Amazing, and you're amazing. And thank you for being here.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so we will be back next week with more great women. It'll be Kimberly Moore and Susan Rose, so be sure to tune in next Wednesday at noon. Make it a great week. Hugs and happiness.